To me, Britt, that's not enough to be turning the tables here. He will get back in the run, but he travels oh so well. And as Bob Peters mentions, every time you interview him, he just looks better and better every time he comes to the races.
Yeah, certainly has been holding his condition so well all campaign. Trap for Fools is the 2, the winner of the Towton when leading all of the way under Brad RWWA. He takes the ride today for Lindsay Smith.
What an effort that was in the Towton Cup, and what a ride it was too from Brad RWWA. He carried 62 kilos in that listed handicap, beating Nerf Bosk by 3 kilos, who he meets at identical weights here into this Perth Cup. That race there was run very, very slowly up until about the 800 metre marker. In a quirky little fact, and probably highlighting just how good the ride was from Brad RWWA, Trap for Fools 600 to the 400 metre furlong split was the fastest of the meeting. So it was just a show that when Brad RWWA got that breather, he was able to use it with Trap for Fools. That's the way to rate him. That's the way to ride him. It was a very similar ride on Dance Music and the Mrs. Max Latrice earlier on. Rack and stack and then sprint for home. Probably going to have to work a bit from gate number 15 to get across from there, but the other speed horse here that we know is Adornment, who's drawn one gate outside. So I'd be expecting Trap for Fools to slowly but surely make his way across. He might take the entire length of the home straight as they jump from the chute here at 2,400 metres, but eventually he'll work his way to the top.
Great to have the 3. Princess Jenny here in Perth was able to make the flight over on Thursday morning from the east. Unfortunately, Jai McNeil not able to make it over with COVID restrictions, so Paul Harvey has been the king of the pickup ride in this last week. He picks up the ride.
He certainly has. He picked up the ride last week on Nerf Bosk, a listed winner. He picked up a ride today on Ration Ali, who was the best bet for almost every punter in Western Australia and got the job done. So he's looking to make it 3 wins from 3 pickup rides, Paul Harvey. Princess Jenny, the winner of the Bendigo Cup at Group 3 level over this trip, 2,400, a mile and a half, 3 starts ago, when holding off Pondus by a narrow margin in the drive to the line. Then went to the Pakenham Cup at 2,500 metres, carried 61 kilos, beaten 3.4 by Attorney. Then last start over 2,600 metres, carried 62 kilos in a handicap at Flemington and went down in the shadows of the post. I thought it was a monumental effort from this mare. She can use the gate. She shows natural gate speed, expecting Paul Harvey to take up a spot, and listening to him in a post-race interview, should I say, earlier on today, Paul Harvey said that he would be using that gate.
Nerf Bosk is the 4. This is the horse that Paul Harvey won on 7 days ago. He's proven that he's effective off the 7-day turnaround, and he drops to 54 kilos and gets Chris Parnham in the saddle.
He's also a 2-time 2,400 metre winner in France, Britt, back in the day, so he's definitely well suited at the trip here. He ran in the Melbourne Cup of 2019, so there's no worries about him seeing out a mile and a half. He's backed up twice in his career off 7 days. 1 win, that was over 1,400, going back 4 starts in the Carbine Club, and then he backed up again off 7 days when running second in the Towton Cup behind Trap for Fools. Meets him at level weights here, having been beaten 3, but you'd think here this race does profile a lot better for Nerf Bosk. Last start last week, he was given a world perfect run by Paul Harvey, 1 out, 1 back, made them look silly. He beat Utgard Loki by 1.8 lengths. There was only 2 horses in the handicap out of that 9-horse field, so there's a bit of a question mark on the quality of the form, but in terms of the speed and the figures out of that race, Britt, that was run 7 lengths faster than average, and for that reason, he's probably going to be the target of good market support.
The stablemate is the 5 in Platoon. Jason Brown picks up the ride.
And gets a lot of weight out of those last 2 feature races at Weight for Age, the Kingston Town and the Van Heemst. Gets 6 kilos off Truly Great for being beaten 2.5 lengths last start in the Van Heemst. Gets 5 lengths, gets 5 kilos off Trap for Fools for being beaten only 3/4 of a length, Britt. So if he was to be able to stick out the 2,400, and that is the big question mark here, and it's a big if he can stick out the trip, then he's very well weighted and suited in this handicap.
Adornment is the 6, one of the other runners in the Cerise and White. Drawn barrier 16, and we know she's a bit of a hard-going filly, so she'll have to roll forward.
She will, but she's drawn a gate outside of Trap for Fools, so I think that Joseph Azzopardi will have it in his mind. One pretty solid plan, and that's to slide across outside of Trap for Fools, and when he finds the front, that leaves Joey Azzopardi and Adornment in the breeze. And I think here, Britt, while she's a long way outside the handicap, she's going to be there for a fair way.
Canvassed is the 7, Robin Lockwood, Jason Whiting.
A class Class 2 mare. She was very impressive over the winter, running second to Chantria in the Belmont Oaks. But as we've seen with Chantria here in Fillies and Mares Company over the summer carnival, it just doesn't quite hold up that winter 3-year-old form.
Dark Musket is the veteran, the 9-year-old, having start number 91 in the Cup today.
And his 5th start in the Perth Cup, can you believe? He's been around so long, Dark Musket. He's probably going to settle towards the back of the field. He's probably going to finish toward the back of the field, but he's been around for a long time.
And just being grabbed by the clerk of the course. Vet Judith Med just on the walkie-talkie looking at the horse, so we'll just keep an eye on what is happening there, if anything. Double digit is the 9, is in fact at triple digits.
And we haven't seen 53 kilos for Ryan Hill for a long, long time. I'm sure that he is just a stick figure of himself at the moment, the boy. Last start beaten by 4.4 by Trap for Fools. In that race, he was at 54 and a handicap. This race, 53. It's not enough weight relief for a Metro 84.
Graham Hammerquist prepares the 10, frees him off. Kira Yule takes the ride, of course. She was the first female to win the Perth Cup.
I think it was 10 years ago today too, Britt. There's a bit of a sign of just how old we're getting, because I was here that day. Frees him off here. She draws a nice gate. She should get a nice run. 2,400 metres looks right up her alley, but again, it's going to be a lot for these last few. They all look a little bit outclassed.
11, he's a Parker, the same can be said, but we know he can stay.
We know he can stay, but he hasn't fired a shot since he won a Pinjarra Cup 2 years ago.
Juicing Carrots is the